Hello, my name is Julia Pearring. I live in Harlem in New York City, and I'm happy to be here with you for this practice in my home space where I do my home practice. I want to do a series of standing poses and have the focus of Chit Shakti, of what is the power to have awareness predominate. The truth of our daily existence includes the vast range of the highs and lows, the joys and the love and the excitement and the suffering and the sadness. And the power of awareness is that we hold the space for all of that. And specifically in our asana practice, we use the principles of inner body bright and outer body soft, open to grace principles, for the purpose of getting more and more vibrant, more and more powerful in the inner awareness, in the clarity of the inner being, so that what tends to become sensationalized, the stories of the highs and lows, what tends to then take our nervous system and heighten it in a way that can actually be depleting and confusing, is softened. So the outer body, then the place that gets sensational, releases more. And the truth of our Anusara practice is we honor sensation. So our practice is to feel the simple sensations, to feel the presence in our asana practice of awareness. So close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. Feel one place where one part of your body is touching another part. So where your hands are resting on your thighs or the fold in your legs, maybe where your underarms meet your side body. And move towards sensation there. Let it magnify, let it open, let it fill your awareness. We want to be sensitive. We want to be able to hold the full range. So this isn't about, awareness isn't about pushing away or pretending it doesn't exist. But this moment in this practice, let this be the time and the space where you let the sensations come downward, especially what's going on in the world, especially what's going on in your own struggles and your working edge. And let this be a moment where you speak to yourself through movement, by the little ways that muscles move against each other, the breath moves within your body. So that we gain the power of our awareness, and that inner body, as it brightens, as it becomes more clear, as the ripple of it, of the breath, for instance, moves the outer body. Ultimately, then, we're more able to, when we need to step into decision making, to step into action. Bring our hands up in front of our hearts. Feel the way one hand leans into the other, meeting the other, reflecting, giving feedback to the other. Notice you can sense all the way to the other, not just the other wrist, but the other elbow, to the other upper arm bone, shoulder girdle. This way we dance with our own being. We bring up the awareness of the inner body. And we allow the outer body to soften on top of that. Let the stories release. Let's do a breath in through the mouth, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then let's chant 3 ohms and once through the invocation. Full breath. Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Thank you. Release your hands, open your eyes. We'll start on hands and knees. Go ahead and clear your mat. Maybe have a block handy. I know I'll be using one. And I have my angle particularly slanted so that you might be able to see a little bit of the front and the side at the same time. And coming to hands and knees, find the movement of your breath. Notice places in the body that descend easily with gravity, places that resist. Notice places on your front body that drop with gravity and places that are able to stay connected to the back body. And then start to move through cat and cow. So the inhale pulls the front body long, groins back, armpits forward, crown and tail lift, and then exhale, round the spine upward. Let your tail and crown go down. I can't completely release my head because I have a headset on, but you do. You hopefully can. Inhale, lengthen. Armpits and deep groins back. So the front body lengthens. It doesn't overdrop though. It invites the back to settle. Exhale and round. Lifting the front body in and up, breathing into that. And breathing, exhaling into that. Inhale again, lengthen. And then as you exhale, start to take anything else you might need. Any little circles through the spine, any side bends. I often like to pull a sitting bone towards the opposite heel. And often when I'm in the rounded shape of cat pose, just to really lengthen back body. Another one that many of my students know we play with a lot is using the cat pose to find more of a child's pose and almost pumping then through the core inner body. Inhales take you more towards an upward dog, and how far you go is up to you. It's short here, unless you walk your knees a little bit further back. It's really short for an upward dog. But start to grip the fingers, start to use the armpits, lifting, supporting the throat and head, lifting, supporting the openness of the heart. We're going to focus mostly on the lower body for this standing sequence. Opening up the inner body, awareness of depth, awareness of clarity and warmth. And through the little sensations of the presence of movement in our body, the presence of awareness, garnering that power, letting the outer body soften. Good. And then downward facing dog. And go ahead as you lift your knees up. Let's take a similar quality of cat and cow. So bend your knees, lift your heels higher. Really deepen your groins up so sitting bones spike away high. You pull fingertips, lifting the underarms and taking the armpits forward. Gaze can go forward. The front body's really long here. And then exhale and reach the heels. Now don't drop your quad tone. Really keep your quads active, but pull the sitting bones and the tailbone down on that far side. Release your head. Let the front body lift in and up and lengthen the back line of the body. Good. And then let's walk our hands back towards our feet. So we're in a standing forward bend at the back of the mat. And if you have a wall nearby, I'm going to offer that this first forward fold uses the wall. So I'm about a foot distance away from the wall. And I'm inviting then the upper thighs to pin backward. So the inner body has a fullness up through the upper lungs, up through the roof of the mouth, right? Also it has a fullness as you go down inside the pelvis. So the inner legs can pull back from big toe to inner heel. The outer legs can pull back pinky toe to outer heel. In that way, almost as if you're stapling the upper thighs to the wall. And then in the last few breaths, as the outer body softens around that, spine releases. Look for some spot in the mid-spine that can go as you charge the legs a little quicker up the wall. Breathing into that. Keep the femur bones heavy to the wall.
swirling the breath, the warm breath back into the hips. Good.
And then walking yourself back again, downward facing dog. And in fact, child's pose. Take your knees wide. Set your hips towards your heels. Let your head release downward. Settling for a moment. So letting the sensation subside. Feeling the outer body soften, even after those first few warm-up poses. Maybe it's your breath you turn to. Maybe it's one part of the body touching another part. That contact space. Balance in the hips, so let both shins weigh down, both upper thighs release. In the last few moments, reach your tailbone. Lengthen the nape of the neck so the crown extends, the forehead heavies. And then coming back up, downward facing dog. And here's where we'll use our block. So lift your left leg high, step your left foot forward between your hands. We're starting a low lunge twist, so I'm going to use the block under my right hand so my torso is more parallel to the floor. I'm going to do the left thumb and the left hip crease trick, self-assist. And it's a self-assist, but the truth about self-assist is they're also self-observation. The asana practice is to deepen our awareness. It's to garner that power of awareness. So as you press your feet down here, keep the back thigh from dropping, but a lot of how that's going to be clear to you if you can't see yourself is by this self-observation. Feel the femur bone. If that widest part's pulled forward, wrap it back a little bit more. Let it then hug towards the midline. Back leg will do the same thing. It'll hug towards the midline. It'll firm all the muscles as you draw from feet to hips. And breathing into that, feel the way the belly hollows a bit. And then as you're ready, let the chest turn. Again, don't drop your back thigh. Really draw the outer hip around and under, bending deeply. Stretch the arm up. Breathe into it. Again, scoop belly, stretch through your legs. Using this widest part of the upper thighs as an open space to hold that range. As you release, bring your back knee down. Pat it as you'd like. And take it up into Anjanayasana. So same quality. It's often that this outer hip gets picked up. So as you pull the legs in firm, imagine the hands still on that outer thigh and wrapping it in a way where both femurs are able to turn towards the pelvis, almost to feel each other across one side to the other. And inhale, let that help lift as the pelvis bottoms, inner body bright downward through the bottom of the seat, lift the side body up. Nice. Inhale, coming up. One more here in this variation. Remove your block. Hand comes out. Walk your left foot over to the side more. And as you pick up your back knee, turn to the pinky edge. I'm going to play with a little push of the foot here and the invitation to bring this outer right leg down. See if the armpit can stay high, so it's just a really good length here for the right side body. Full deep breaths. Stand down. Outer hip wraps just a bit. And it's an outer spirus principle, those of you who know the principles, and yet in some ways it's also a muscle energy action of just making sure you can move to the midline at the hip, breathing into it. And then pushing down, inhale, come back up, downward facing dog. Step that leg back. Take a few moments, wiggle the hips. In the same way, it's like pulling the top of the left femur over to the top of the right femur over to the top of the left. We get this horizontal vantage point. You imagine if you're seeing the horizon line, the way that you are able to hold in your awareness the range, the highs, the lows, the great joys and the great sufferings. And you clear a space for yourself to know that you can hold all of that, so that when you need to respond, you do so powerfully. Step your right foot forward. We'll do the same sequence second side. So block under the left hand as you'd like. Adjustments to the clothing. As you're here, pulling the back leg forward and up, thumb in the hip crease, wrap the hip back and under. And as you press through the feet, firm the muscles strong to support then the same quality of pulling outer hips towards one another. Breathe into it. And as the twist goes, it's really a twist when this leg is countering. If the leg drops, it becomes a roll. The pubis, everything goes in the same direction. So you're lifting, you're working and wrapping the hips, finding that way that they lean towards each other, lifting low belly, spinning, and then taking the arm up. Breathe. Slide throat back. In this way, the deep pelvis actually settles onto the legs, extending through. Exhale, release. Bring the back knee down. Legs pull towards one another. Anjanayasana. In any way that you put your hands on you, it's assisting. It's also observing. You're bringing feedback and sensation to the body, starting to garner your own power of awareness. Breathing, inner legs, outer hips. Soften the outer body. And feel the way the inner body extends fully. Reach pelvis to legs, side body up. Inhale as you rise. Again, we'll take this wider stance with the front foot, even turning out a little. Pick up the back knee and rotate to the pinky edge. This is a strong action on the left arm so that the side body gets nice and long. And as we're doing all this work on the muscles deep in the hip, you practice the push on the front foot, breathing. It's often that the muscles on this top rim of the pelvis are quite tight. Breathing in there, opening up the space. Outer body softening on the fullness of the inner body. And then pushing down, coming back up again, downward facing dog. Let's find a little flow. Inhale, forward plank, bring your knees down, keeping your toes tucked, hips towards heels. Wave yourself up. Again, let your head go fully down and stay quite lifted at the back of the heart. Then come to the top of the feet. Inhale and swing the hips and the heart just a bit through. And pressing back again, downward facing dog. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhale, forward, knees down. Wave your way up. Again, let the head release. I can't demonstrate it, but you do it. Inhale, lifting the heart up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, inhale, forward. Knees come down, hips towards your heels. I like to keep my toes tucked just for that variation on the feet. Inhale, wrapping your way up and through. Now, top of the feet. Go ahead and lead the torso. Heart leads forward. Downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths. I'm going to switch legs, which goes forward. Right leg up, right leg steps forward. Back heel spins down. Warrior 2, stretching your arms out. We're going to take this in a moment into Warrior 1. So I'm already going to look for the way that the back heel is going to have the action of spinning up, that there's going to be a really deep turn and lift of the back inner thigh muscle. And take it into Reverse Warrior, let it stretch, let it breathe. A little side angle pose for a moment. Feeling the pelvis at that center place where the outer hips hug in. Maybe 1 more time. Good. And then as you come back up, Warrior 2, that same active pull, go ahead, swing the arm forward. The left arm comes to meet the right. And then you hop the back leg in. So continue that action of pulling the left hip around. That's that back leg work that we need so that the front leg is, if you're still self-adjusting, wrap the outer hip. If you're still just turning all your attention into the hip. In this way, we get very clear inside of ourselves. Our awareness builds. The front knee bends as you reach the pelvis onto the legs. Inhale, stretching it up. Good. Inhale as you rise. Stretch your front leg towards straight. Keep your big toe long and anchored. Hands behind your back. And in this pose, feel free, you could keep your hands interlaced. You could grab opposite elbows. You could do reverse prayer. But as we start to fold, still pull the back leg forward and internally rotate. Find that way of getting across the top of the femur bones so that you can fold in. Pelvis then roots onto the legs. The outer body and the spine soften into the fold.
And yes, we're already at organic energy, but notice how it all stems. The ability to come into this extension, this action in the pose, all stems from the awareness opening up inside, the outer body, being able to come down and rest on that awareness. Hips pull in, reach through the legs, folding in. Good. Inhale, coming up, rebending, warrior one, arms reach high, and step forward onto the right foot from there.
Take a moment, re-find your feet, lifting up and breathing. Exhale, folding forward, standing forward, bend, and move through a vinyasa as you'd like. Bend your knees, you could step, you could hop back. You could move through or just come back to downward dog and pause for a few breaths. And then we go side two. So left leg lifts high, left foot forward. Warrior two to start. I like to spin the heel a little further back to already get this action going of the inner leg rotating, to feel the thigh picking up. Because this creates space then. If this thigh drops, there's no room for this leg to organize. So as I move the inner thigh and I get the back leg broadening, I start to find that place centering in the pelvis. Feeling that out, breathing into it. Inhale up and over the back leg. Inhale, high side angle. Inhale one more time. Keeping and using this is the kind of the spit. It's that steady awareness as everything is moving through. And then from warrior two, swing the right arm down and forward and up with the left, and use that to hop and turn the back foot in a bit more. So we can collapse easy on the back arches. Warrior one's tough to find the root through the bone. So pick the muscle up and spin the hip forward. It's also hard to bend the front knee and not lose the leg out from under you. So you keep that outer wrap, that movement to the midline at that widest part of the femur bones, right here at the top where they move into socket, where they help support the pelvic focal point, the reach of the seat then downward, the sides of the body upward, breathing into it. Inhale as you rise up. Where are we going? Oh yeah, stretch your front leg towards straight. Keep the big toe nice and long, heel wide. Pause. We can flop onto our legs, or as you draw in, you get the ability to extend and let the inner body be what ripples out to the surface. Maybe you do opposite interlace or other elbow on the bottom. Reverse prayer. Take your time in the fold. Work those outer hips towards the midline. Deepen the inner body. Set the pelvis on the reach of the legs. And allow that mid-spine, some spot in here that will want to lift. Let it soften into the fold. Long, heavy toes. Nice. Pushing down, inhale up again, warrior one. Virabhadrasana one. Pushing down, stretch up, come to stand. One standing child's pose. Bend your knees, fingertips on the floor, like chair pose. You move the inner legs, broaden the inner thighs, hug the outer seat and down, but you lay like you were in child's pose. You lay on top. It means the legs should be working like crazy, breathing into it. Feel that out. But let that again, find that spot where we get very heightened in the spine, and we'll always want to lift the back of the head. And I'm just going to hold the headset so I can release, tailbone release. Breathe, breathe, breathe. This is too good. You drape like your upper body was a tablecloth over this table of the upper leg. Yeah, lift your hips high, nice and slow. If there's not shakes, you could have gone deeper. That's all that means. Next time. Breathing into it. Feel that out. Last round. Inhale long. Step your left leg back. Come for high lunge. We're going to take the twisted version, Parvrita Parsvakonasana, starting from high lunge. So as you hug the legs towards each other, inner thighs, outer hips, everything's working in. Remember, all these refinements of the spirals are even just to support the fullness of muscular energy, of coming into a strong awareness in the inner body and extending from there. So as you're hugging in, hands to the heart, either you'll take hand outside the knee, hand to the low back, or you can take the fold, anchor through. Don't drop the back hip. As you're working the legs in, wrap the right seat underneath and twist, hollowing belly, Sliding throat back. Lengthen your toes to support the softness of your eyes and outer body. Push down to come back up. Stretch it up. And exhale, hands to the mat. Step forward. Pause. Soften. The asana practice will also challenge us. So it will reflect to us in moments, in poses that have a lot of story around them or a lot of sensation for us. Now, how do we respond to that? Can we move into the clarity of the heart, of the inner body? Can we have awareness predominate so that the stories come, they go? We hold the highs and the lows. Inhale, lengthen. Right leg back. Standing down, inhale, come up. What I like about these twists as well, stretching up, is the way that they invite us to turn and really hold these big sweeping ranges, expanses. Finding the deep seat requires a good hug of the hips so that the pelvis descends, belly hollows up. Again, variations are welcome. Back knee could always be down for another support. As you pause into this, wrap. This is my hard side, my tough side. Wrap that seat back. Anchor then down through the legs, hollow the belly, and turn. Nice. Pushing down, inhale, come back up. Stretch through, let it open. Exhale and release. And this time, downward facing dog. Bring your knees to the mat. Come to sit just for one moment. On your heels. Feel free to put a blanket between the thighs and the lower leg. You'll still be able to feel through the blanket the sensations there, the settling there. Deepening and releasing. Inner thighs and then outer hips. As they come in towards each other, the seat releases. Good, come onto your back. We'll finish up with a few easy poses here. And bringing your knees into your chest. Taking a moment to hold. And I often like to start by holding them at my knees, cupping the knees with my hands at an arm's length so the femur bones drop in the socket. This invites the tone. And again, we don't want our nervous systems always on that high alert. We need to be on high alert sometimes. There's times when there's challenging situations and we need to be ready to respond. But that doesn't mean having the nervous system always on edge. That'll actually deplete us. We need this practice to find the beauty of the sensation of awareness, how it brings us and fills our cup, fills our sense of purpose and inner power, reminds us to move from that space, outer body soft, inner body bright. And drawing the knees into the chest. And this might be as far as you go. You might go for happy baby pose. And this is very similar to child's pose, and the standing child's pose is very similar to this variation. And so you want to look for any one spot that tends to push at high alert. You want to breathe above and below that spot, deepen the groins more, soften the armpits. Let the whole length of the spine soften and settle. And then you can play with a little bit more action in the legs, both a pulling down and a kicking up. Just make sure that that spot doesn't override and push too quickly into the mat again. Breathing into it. Maybe even pull feet as if up overhead and yet kick into the heels. Oh, that feels good. One or two more breaths. Bringing the legs back in. And then stretch the legs. Maybe elbows wide, maybe a few rounds. You just take a little bit of Jatara here. So you take a little supine twist. Mostly in some ways to feel now those deep back of the pelvis that we've been working on, firing up. And then go ahead, stretch your legs out long on the mat. Let the feet turn out. Let the body come to soften. Arms down by your sides. And here, in Shavasana, once you've done the little adjustments that you think will help, no more fidgeting, so that you can give yourself time to sense layer by layer. to the more subtle and subtle realms of your being, the way the outer body softens and is supported by inner warmth, clarity, a space in which awareness predominates. It holds the space for the full range of our human experience. Deepening the rounds of your breath. First, to enjoy the way the breath ripples to the surface, the inner body felt all the way to the layer of the skin. And not just through the torso, but can you feel the breath in your arms to your fingertips, out from your heart? Can you feel your breath down through your legs to your toes as it reaches towards the pelvic floor, and it ripples there. You can't pull it. You just have to allow the ripple to move through. And then, of course, up into the head. So to find the soft palate, to find the upper lungs, to find the spaces of the sinuses, and reach to the crown. And now use the movement of your breath to draw your limbs in, bring your legs to your chest. Finding your way up to sit roll to one side or come up through the center, however you would like. Get the support you want to sit on. As you come to sit, we take a moment to close our eyes, turn the attention inward, to notice how vibrant life is when awareness predominates. All these little sensations are speaking, are dancing, are playing. The movement of the breath, even the movement of the thoughts. When awareness predominates, they're less sensational. They drag us down less. They're less of a upward lift of a balloon that will pop. Just hold the space. Sliding your hands to your heart. Awareness predominates, meaning that we honor these practices and we show our gratitude for these practices in the way that it brings awareness fully through the body, fills us up, it garners the power. And in this way, we can move into action as we need, with clarity, with compassion, and with a great deal of trust. Take your head towards your own heart. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.